Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Legio, and we are starting a new series in City Skylines 2. This will be my third attempt, because the other two cities broke during updates. But I think I've got a lot of that figured out. I did a lot of reading on the PDX mods, a lot of reading on forums, and I saw some of the issues I was having with it. And it led to immense frustration, so I took a break from the series, a bit of a hiatus. Sorry if you missed the content. I'll go more in depth with that when we get into the fast play, but first I wanted to highlight the map and kind of showcase it a little bit here. The name of the map is New Sterling by Lilbyrd, and I think it's a really good map. You can tell they definitely took their time in building this. Unfortunately, sir or ma'am, I'm probably going to be tearing up a lot of your infrastructure and rebuilding it. That's kind of my MO, it's how I do things. So a lot of these highways are going to get rebuilt or just completely removed, and the rails are definitely going to get tweaked. So, but let's take a look at it anyways and kind of explain what we have here. You have this main island right here that is going to be the centerpiece of today's episode. I'll get into that during the fast play. We have a peninsula island thing over here. I'm not really sure what you call it. I'm going to call it a peninsula island. And then over here we have another technical island that's kind of separated by this river Y up here, this bend. A couple of really good lakes. I'm excited to work with those. I have ideas for that area. And then a whole bunch of landmass up there that has a whole bunch of hills. And I'll go ahead and turn on the topography so you guys can see that real quick. So it's a pretty hilly map, but they're not extreme hills. So I played around with it off screen a little bit. If you use the smooth tool or the soften terrain tool, my bad, it evens out and it's very buildable. I'll play with the terrain a whole lot, but I'm not going to change the shape of the map necessarily, because it's a really good shape for what I want, which is going to be an East Coast based city that's going to combine a whole bunch of different cities along the East Coast into its build. Pretty excited for that. Before we dive in, I did want to show you the resources. There it is. So they're pretty spread out. We have a lot of resources to work with on this map. Like we have the ore up here. We have a whole bunch of wood and land fertility. So we have a lot of options. Oil, not so much, but I'm not that worried about it because I don't know too many East Coast cities that have a lot of oil to them. The furthest oil reserves I know in the United States on the east side is Pennsylvania, and it's not near Philadelphia. I'm pretty sure. I think it's western Pennsylvania. Not sure. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But anyways, yeah, pretty excited to get started on this map. I think you guys are going to figure out what the theme for this episode is pretty quick when you see me start building. So I'm going to go ahead and just dive into the build now, and I will see you guys at the intermission. So enjoy. Alright guys, so while I clear off this island, I just want to address a few things right out of the gate. First, I apologize if I sound like crap, because I feel like crap. At the time of this recording, I'm dealing with a pretty good sinus infection, and it is kicking my butt. So if you hear any coughing, sneezing, wheezing, or shortness of breath, it's from that. I don't normally sound this bad. I normally sound much, much worse. The second thing I wanted to address was the hiatus I went on with City Skylines content. That was mainly due to my frustration of losing pretty much all my saves, even my non-YouTube ones. And I had to do a lot of soul searching and a lot of research. And it turns out it was mainly user error of how I was using mods. The primary culprit of what broke my saves was the Road Builder mod. I was misusing it a little bit, and it broke saves. I wasn't the only one this happened to, I found out. But for now, I'm going to avoid using the mod until it stabilizes a little bit better, and I just figure out how to use it better. Because I have a problem if I'll get something and I don't properly research how to use it. I just kind of jump in head first and figure it out as I go, and that usually results in stuff breaking. So I did trim down my mod list quite a bit. Just fluff, stuff that really didn't add much to the game. But I kept all the essential ones like Move It, Lumina down there. You can see the map texture, stuff like that. Mods I did remove were anything that affected demands of either services or zoning. So for this build, all services are going to be vanilla based. So I will have to address the police, the fire, the education, and healthcare as I go along. which is fine. That actually to me will influence a lot of builds I do. Because typically I do this like I'm a city painter instead of a city planner, and I build what I want to build when I want to build it, and that sometimes I can lose perspective of the city sometimes. Yeah, but I will be keeping unlimited money on because I like playing with unlimited money. It's how I like playing the game. Also, in my opinion, money becomes really pointless late game because you're just generating so much cash that you might as well have just had unlimited money. So I'm just cutting out the middleman there. So all zoning is also going to be mod free. It's all vanilla, so I'm gonna have to build what they want to build. So if they want low density housing, which is what they typically always want, I'm gonna have to build that, and I'm gonna have to fill in the high density as I go along, which is gonna be a bit of a challenge, especially considering of how I'm doing this build, because this map is going to be an amalgamation of different East Coast cities, all kind of slammed together in one region. And what I mean by that is every landmass you saw in the opening section is going to be themed after a different city of the region. So this map right here, or this island right here, I think is going to be pretty easy to figure out. This is going to be based after Manhattan in New York. I didn't think that was going to be a secret for very long. While the other islands will be based after cities like DC, Boston, Baltimore, stuff like that. Each landmass will have its own little theme, and I think that could keep things very interesting, because instead of having, say, Brooklyn off to the side, it could be like a Baltimore themed city. We'll see how that turns out. It may end up looking like New York at the end of things, but I do have an idea, and I thought it'd be kind of a fun build. Okay, so with the downtown grid more or less in place, it is very subject to change as we move along. I build the first entrance into the downtown, and I use the Grand Bridge asset for two reasons. One, it resembles closely the bridge I'm basing it off of, which is the Brooklyn Bridge. It's not a one-to-one, obviously, but that's the closest aesthetic I can get to it with what I have in the game right now. Also, I really like the way it looks. It's a lot better than a plain old suspension bridge, which will be in the build later on. You'll see it towards the end of the episode. I wanted something a little bit more ornate to cross that river there, because in my mind, the landmass I'm building on, the Peninsula Island, so to speak, that's going to kind of be a mix of, I guess you could say, Brooklyn and Queens meets Boston. Kind of what I had in my mind. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it will as I move along. I don't have a clear site picture yet, but it's coming together in my mind, I promise. So I need to have a nice ornate connection, not collection. Jeez, I cannot talk today. So that bridge served that purpose very, very well. And what I did here is spend way too much time building an interchange that I know is only temporary. I spend way too much time doing this. I'm a little frustrated with myself, but I'm just going to chalk it up to practicing with the road tools and getting more familiar with them, because it does look good. It's just I know I'm going to end up demolishing this and rebuilding the area. Also, please forgive the lighting change. My settings got messed up by a game crash and I had to reset everything, but I kind of like the way things look now. The darker feel is a little I don't know, it just looks better to me. I don't know how to describe it. It's more of an artistic feel, I think. But once I get that area all sketched out, so to speak, I then come back across the river and I work on my version of the FDR highway. Originally I was going to stack the highway, but that got kind of weird and complicated, and then I had to mess with the pillars a whole lot, and I quickly realized it just wasn't worth the hassle and the headache. So they just stayed side by side, and looking on Google Earth, that's kind of what the FDR does for the majority of it anyways. It only stacks every once in a while. But I then start working on the connections, and I really do like how these connections come out. It looks like a mess, but they do all make sense, and when we get to the intermission, I'll highlight a lot of it. But building the connections here was a lot of fun. This is where I really got familiar with the road tools, because I've not done a complicated interchange. This is an interchange. Yeah, it's an interchange. I haven't done one this complicated ever in the game. I typically just slap down a 4-leaf or something like that. But I'm avoiding 4-leaf interchanges in this, especially in the downtown area. Because when I was doing my research on Google Earth, flying around, all the interchanges and road networks in Manhattan are not standard. They are very unique in kind of how they function. So I tried to have this be pretty unique. And I think I nailed it. This is, you know what, I'm going to go to bat and say this is the best interchange I've built. And it's up there with some of the other great creators. Pat myself on the back. But it's very functional. You're not going to see any cars on the road because nothing gets zoned out in this episode. All I'm doing is building the infrastructure for right now. But yeah, this turns out really good, and then I'm going to extend the FDR here in a little bit. Well, my version of the FDR, don't even know if you could call it that. But it gets extended out. I do model a lot of it after what's there in real life. It will dip underground at one point and then resurface into another road. It will connect with a highway that I build, or a tunnel. You're going to see that a little bit later. That isn't there in real life. That's just my take on it, and I'll explain what I'm doing there a little bit later, mostly in the intermission, because a lot of this is just tedious road work now, and I enjoy listening to smooth jazz watching this, so I think you guys will as well. So I'm going to let the music do a lot of the work for me now, and I will see you guys at the intermission. Alright guys, we are live here on our East Coast city that remains unnamed. If you have name suggestions, throw them in the comments down below. Anyways, I wanted to take a break from the fast play to just kind of give you a better visual of what we got built here. So this won't take very long because there's not much built. We have our big grid laid down, and this is subject to being changed here and there. This is just kind of a working concept. It can always be broken up, so to speak, and we can make it look more organic, I guess, but this is a pretty good starting point. Moving out here, we redrew this highway, and it's all right. It's a shape, it's something. Our really simple interchange, but it feeds into our bridge, which let's just take a look at the Grand Bridge. I know you guys have seen it 1,000 times, but again, this is really nice. I really like that. It's pretty cool. Oh, they have benches up there. I'd not seen that before. Apparently this is now a tourist destination as well. So do some sightseeing there, I guess. But then we move into what looks like a monstrosity of an interchange, and it kind of is. But I really like the shape of it, and it makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and get out of this view and then show you kind of my ideas. So if you're coming here on what is right now Beechwood Highway, you have this 2-lane that feeds into a 3-lane for a second. And my thought process is, if you want to exit, you can exit right about here. If you're coming off of what would be, what is this, Coleridge Highway onto here, you have the options of getting on bridge. You can exit onto what is apparently Madison Highway. So this, I'm kind of happy. I do know there'll be a lot of weaving here in reality, probably a lot of accidents, but this is a video game and I'm letting it fly. In reality, they probably had this more thought out, but I'm not a traffic engineer. And then over here we just have a quick little, I call it a teardrop shape. It's like a teardrop hook into this. And we have 2 lanes here. In reality, they probably do something to smooth out the transition so that cars can go this way and they can go this way. But for a video game, I think it's alright. I may tweak and play with this a little bit more, because now that I look at it, I'm not happy with this ramp right here. That is that is not making me happy to look at. But overall, I'm really happy with the shape, and it's probably going to stay. My opinion, these things always look kind of awkward sitting here in the middle of no man's land, so to speak. But I think as buildings and neighborhoods and even trees or a park fill up around this, it's going to look a lot better. It just won't look so out of place. But let me give you an idea of what we're going to be doing in the second half of the episode. This highway to nowhere, so to speak, we're going to end up tunneling underneath, and it's going to pop out somewhere over here, I'm thinking. I know New York doesn't have a tunnel that basically cuts across to what would be New Jersey, I guess. Because if we're saying this is Brooklyn and this is New Jersey, this is going to be kind of an express tunnel. And two thoughts on that. One, I think that could actually help in real life. I don't know if they have something like it, but I didn't see that on Google Earth or when I Googled around doing research for all this. So I think this will ease traffic coming into the city, because now they don't have to go through all the way, and they eventually don't have to go around, because I'm not going to have a highway cut through the city, so to speak. So a tunnel down here would be good. Our make-believe FDR or FDR ripoff, it's eventually going to do what it does in real life and come under a park area here possibly, and then spit out over here somewhere. And then to pretty much end the episode, we're going to redo this area over here, I think, because while that's a nice intersection area, this area is going to be really I don't know how to explain. It's going to be a lot of, this is going to be where all the suburban sprawl is going to end up, in my opinion. We might have some taller buildings along the coast, suburban sprawl, and then I'm thinking possibly like a cargo port area down in here. But I think that lends very well, like the lower socioeconomic can be down here. But to do that, we're going to rebuild this area, and I'm thinking there's going to be a bridge to enter somewhere in this area over the river. Probably won't be as ornate as this one. Yeah, I think it's all going to come together. I think it's going to look quite nice. Yeah, if you've ever been a part of one of my builds, you kind of know how these things go. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right back into the fast play. And yeah. Alright, so we start off the second half of this episode by reshaping our island quite a bit, especially down in the southern region. It was just too wide and too bulky for my liking, and I thought it wasn't going to look good if I built on it as it was. So I really trimmed it down and narrowed it out quite a bit. I also reshaped this side of the river, just making it a little bit cleaner, a little bit more crisp, because when we run the roads along it, it's going to look a lot better. I really like the shape it turns into. It's almost like an arrow point or an oven mitt when you look at it from overhead, from an overhead view, and looks good. It's very reminiscent of what Manhattan itself looks like, but it is distinctly different. So I think I achieved if you look at it, you can see the influence of Manhattan, but it's definitely different. It's something new, and I like it. And here we are, just kind of edging everything out with these roads. This I stole straight up from Manhattan, because I like the concept of it, even though in reality I would hate it, because I think waterfronts are for people, not cars. But at the time this city was built, this would have been not only common, it would have almost been the standard of the day to have roads running along the waterfront. So I went ahead and put it in. It also really makes the shape look, unique in my opinion. And here's another lighting change, because the game crashed and I forgot to fix it before I started recording. So I apologize if that's jarring. But again, the lighting looks good either way in my opinion. It's either bright and happy or dark and gloomy. Just kind of depends on what mood you're in. But now I begin working on some of the tunnel system. The tunnel I'm working on right now, it's basically a copy and paste of Battery Tunnel in Manhattan. That's just to get from one side to the other, but it also helps me build out the tunnel that is not there in real life. This tunnel is basically running from one landmass to the other. I guess what you would say makeshift New Jersey to makeshift Brooklyn, Queens area. From what I can tell, this doesn't exist in real life, so this is my own little creation, and I built this for a couple reasons. One, the main reason is I don't want a lot of through traffic coming through my downtown. So any traffic from this area that needs to get to the other side, or pretend New Jersey for now because I don't know what else to call it yet, it can take this tunnel and get there quickly. It's almost like an express lane. And also, there is going to be one connection from this tunnel to the downtown area, but it's going to be very small, and I'm hoping it's not prioritized by cars. If it is, I'm going to take it out because I don't want that traffic to be like that, but we'll see what happens. Also, that connection is going to be the ugliest connection you've ever seen because it's underground, and I don't care. If I can't see it, it's out of sight, out of mind. So that was kind of my thought process with it. We'll see if it works. If it doesn't, it's a very easy bulldoze. And then I just take a little bit of time to trim off the island here using the keys and the terraform tool. Nothing too exciting. But while that's happening, I'll go ahead and give you an update on my life and another reason why it took so long for this episode to get out. Mrs. Legio is pregnant with our first child, so that has consumed a lot of my time helping her deal with pregnancy because the first trimester is apparently horrible, and I do feel really bad for her. I've seen what she's had to go through. So ladies, y'all are champions for dealing with that. Very impressive that you can even get through it and then want to have another child, because I know I wouldn't. But yeah, so that's pretty exciting. That's definitely cut into my game time because I've been wanting to spend time with her, help take care of her, prep for the new addition to our family. I don't know what it means for my recording when they get here. I don't want to give this up. I probably won't give it up, but it will definitely impact my recording sessions because I'm not a professional YouTuber. This isn't how I make my money. This is just a little side hobby project for me to, get away from reality for a little bit. But yeah, so I appreciate any condolences or anything you guys put in the comments about that. We're excited, and it's long overdue. We've been together for a while, so child just seems like a natural progression at this point, I guess. So now, what I'm doing on screen is I'm building the second bridge for the city. This one I styled after the Manhattan Bridge. It's very straightforward, very practical, nothing ornate really about it. The entrance to it, I like this. Very simple, very easy. And it was right about this time that another update came out where I could use asymmetrical highways and everything. So that was I played with that for a little bit and did a lot of lane math to make sure everything made sense. Stuff you didn't see on stuff you didn't see on screen, if I could talk. I went back to our ramp over there at the Brooklyn Bridge and I did some lane math to figure that out. I did that off screen because it just wasn't that interesting. It was just me upgrading a few segments of the highway with the new asymmetrical highway roads that we got, so that's pretty neat. Made lane math easier. But the rest of this session is just me upgrading roads and making a few intersections that I think turn out pretty good. So I will go ahead and shut up for a little bit and I'll see you when we jump across the river. Alright, so we begin to move into the last phase of this episode, and that's building out this area just a little bit, reworking the highway and connecting it up to our bridge that runs into the downtown. And I had to make a lot of concessions for this. What I originally had in mind is not what I ended up getting. I originally wanted to keep the rail network as it was, because I kind of like the junction that's there. But due to the game crashing several times, I had to rework this area completely. The rail gets moved, the highway isn't what I wanted, but the end result is still pretty good. I originally wanted to run the road over this rail right here, but what would happen is move it anytime I tried to align the heights, it would end up crashing the game. Not an uncommon error that we're getting right now. I see that a lot on the Move It forum. So I accepted my fate and just took the sign that God was giving me and redrew the highway, and I eventually end up redrawing the rail as well. And what I end up getting actually isn't too bad. I think it might even look better than what I had in mind. So necessity facilitated function on this one. And the interchange I opt for is a Parclo in this area, because a four-leaf clover was going to be way too big. A bunch of the interchanges would just be too big. So what I did is I sunk that road and then used Move It to align the heights. Then I bring this road over it, and I end up doing a pretty compact Parclo interchange. And I think it works out perfectly, because this area is going to be pretty snug. It's going to be a very tight area. A lot of housing is going to be over here, possibly some industrial stuff as well. So I had to make sure that it was pretty compact, because in East Coast cities, space is premium. So I had to, I was trying to do some future proofing here, a lot of foreplanning, because I know this area is going to end up being nice and intimate, so to speak. But here I began work on the Parclo. I found my example somewhere on Google Earth. I can't remember the name, but a lot of them function very similar, and it looks really good. This is where the road building in City Skylines 2 shines versus Skylines 1, because you can connect to the separate lanes, and everything looks really good, especially when I upgrade the roads to the proper lane and do lane math. Everything turns out really good. Happy with the way it turned out. This is pretty much it for the episode. Well, building wise, so I will see you guys in live play so we can kind of go over everything we built. Alright guys, so we are back live in game. I figure this is a pretty good way to end each and every episode, just showcasing what I got built and talking about what I'll probably do in the next episode or two. So for this episode, primarily focused on the downtown, or what will be the downtown. We got the skeletal grid in place. It'll probably get changed up as we go along. We got one of the main entrances here with the Grand Bridge. It's a complex yet simple little interchange we have going on. I'm really proud of it. I like the way it looks. The only things I did off screen was I improved this ramp using the asymmetric highway, the 5-lane right there. And then I upgraded this ramp to a 2-lane as it comes in. And using the lane connector, I'll show you what that does. So when it was a 1-lane, there were 3 lanes here, and you had to basically screech all the way across, kind of like the Family Guy meme of trying to get over at the last second. But with it being 2 lanes, you can now just use this middle lane to either go right or left. Makes it a lot simpler, and I really like the way things turned out there. I think it looks good, and as things build up around it, it'll look even better. We're not going to pay attention to this little area at all. Nothing's going on there for quite a while. It's just a placeholder for now. Down here, we got our bridge in. A very simple, modern looking bridge. Nothing complicated about how it enters the city. Just go straight, go right. Those are your options coming in. Pretty happy with that. And I'm pretty sure I left enough space to put something underneath this for later development. You guys will see what that is in the coming couple episodes. And then over here, we finished off with redrawing this highway. In the next episode, I plan on connecting everything on up here. I'm not sure how that's going to look yet. It's probably going to be a mess. It's probably going to be a lot of spaghetti, but we'll figure that out when we get to it. Probably have to reshape quite a few things if we're being honest. And then down here, we just built a really simple Parclo, but honestly, this might be one of the better looking interchanges I've done. I really used the surface tool to great effect there. I really like how that turned out. And using Move It, I was able to butt the highways up next to each other even closer. And I think the end result is very, very nice. Very happy with it. Overall, pretty happy with how things are starting. I know it doesn't look like a lot right now, but I promise it will grow into something. That's just kind of how I build. But anyways, for the next coming episode, the only thing I'll say is I'm going to be focusing on this lake system right here. I have a pretty good idea of what I'm going to be putting here, and I will start putting services down for the city, and we'll begin zoning a little bit. But that's basically it for the episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, I just ask that you do the typical YouTube stuff down below, and I will see you in the next one.